Take a look, just take a look. We were talking about 2 hours ago how the drains here are likely to have the water come back out. This is a drain that I'm standing on. And you can see that flow coming from back there. That is where the inlet where we're on, I don't know how far over we can see. Can we see just beyond the fence here, Tony? That's where you can see that, yeah, you see that water back there. That's an inlet connected to the ocean, and that water is coming straight through and onto the street. And this is just the beginning. This is likely, look, we are a good 2 hours away from high tide here in Freeport, so you can do the math. Some 2 hours from now, well, here, this will show what's going to happen here. Look over here. This is the door to the Crab Shack restaurant. They've got their sandbags here because they know that this area floods. But we've been told by people who live here, including a marina owner, they're expecting this to be, about this high before all is said and done. And that's this morning. And this is going to be the lowest high tide for the next 24 hours, meaning that tonight, around about 8 o'clock tonight, we're likely to have the high tide around here, which means that this water is likely to go, look up the street here. You can see a flagpole at the end. Beyond that flagpole, maybe another half a mile, at least a quarter mile. All of that is likely to be underwater. The highest we have seen the water in this area easily for 20 years. That's what they're talking. And even as I've been speaking just in the last minute and a half, you can see the water's gone across the street. This is rising fast. What's likely to happen is within the next hour, we're going to have to move because this is just happening too much. Now, there's one other thing happening here. You can see back there. Look at that American flag. Yeah, we've got these winds. That is preventing water from coming out of these inlets. So the tide is rising, and there's nowhere for it to go except up. And that is what continues to happen here. There is a mandatory evacuation here. A lot of people are gone, and that truck, that is a village truck. So they're just monitoring things to make sure things are safe out here, that people are not in danger. So far, that is not the case. But again, we are starting to have these floodwaters rise. They keep rising. Look, in the last 2 minutes, we've seen this go up probably about 1.5 inches. That rate, you can see it is going to be particularly dicey around here. Again, 2 hours, more than 2 hours from now, we'll have high tide, and it is likely to be very high. The warnings need to be heeded because things are only going to get worse throughout the day. That is the latest from here in Freeport. Oh, wait, well, let me say one other thing. You see all these winds, right? LIPA, the power authority out here, is expecting significant power outages. They've brought in crews from the Midwest, Ohio, Wisconsin, elsewhere in the Ohio Valley, because they are anticipating significant power outages, and certainly they've been anticipating flooding, and you can see it is starting here in a pretty significant way, and it is only going to get worse. That's the latest from here in Freeport, Long Island. I'm James Ford, PIX 11 News.
All right, James, don't go anywhere. Give us another shot because I'm trying to get the perspective. You're saying the water is coming in. That's the ocean, right? The ocean we're talking about.
That is correct. That's correct. We'll show you back here, Sukanya. Again, when I started talking 3 minutes ago, this street only had water on the right side of the street. And now you can see it has water all the way across. And that water continues to rise every minute. We'll come back here, let's say about 20, 25 minutes from now, and show you the contrast. After that, look over here. This is a restaurant here. This is a business. It's a building. Look at this. The water is coming under the building. We are definitely talking about flood conditions that are only going to get worse, and this is very steady. But yes, this is ocean water coming up onto the street, and it's going to keep rising at least for the next 2 hours. We've been anticipating this, and again, this is the morning high tide. The evening high tide likely to be much higher, and we'll have higher winds all around. This is not likely to be good. Back to you.
Let me ask you something, James. You know, when we go in there, reporters go into those areas. I mean, those are dangerous areas. Have you already talked to emergency officials about where you're going to go for higher ground? Because I see the truck over there, but you know, the water, it rises fast.
Yeah, what we have to do, that's what I was trying to say before, because this water is likely to rise at such a rate, we're going to have to leave here probably in about an hour or so and go that way north, where it's slightly higher. We'll go that way, probably another half mile. Here are the authorities.
James?
Right, and I'm here live, by the way, with Tony Mazza, our excellent video journalist who just wiped off this lens. We are on First Avenue. Really, this is an avenue here in Lindenhurst, and you can see it is inundated, as are, probably about 50, at this point, about 50 blocks of Lindenhurst are part of the bay right now. Yeah, the bay has come up and inundated this area. And then over here, that's 6th Street, also part of the bay. And yes, that is one of 4 houses that burned overnight here. That one clearly a total loss. The other remarkable thing, according to firefighters, is farther down on 6th Street. On the same street, another house totaled by fire. You can't see it. Why? Because that huge tree is in the way. All of this underscoring just how hard a punch Long Island took. In fact, as far as winds go, the highest winds in the area here on Long Island. The South Shore took it really hard on the chin. As a result, over 900,000 people, about 90% of LIPA customers without power. There were also 2 deaths, I'm sorry to report. Speaking of fallen trees, both of those deaths came from fallen tree parts or fallen trees. The fires, no fatalities, even though there were 4 fires in this town alone. Throughout Suffolk County, more than 30 fires, 32 fires to be precise. And now look at this. We've got sunshine. Linda Church has been talking about it this morning. You still have these remaining bands of the storm, and we just keep alternating. About 4 minutes ago, you may have seen, we had some really heavy rain here. Now, look at that. It looks like a beautiful day. Not such a beautiful day as the sun comes up and people wake up to see the devastation left behind. But you all saw that rainbow here about 15 minutes ago. There is still hope. One other thing to point out here, just behind where that firefighter was just walking, you can see up against the white wall of that house. That was the high water line. In fact, I'm going to walk over there to say one thing. We talked with the fire chief here, Jimmy Gallagher, and he said the biggest challenge in fighting all these fires was he and his firefighters had to wade through water. Look how high this is. And that's up here. I'm higher up. They had to go down in the street. I'm still not there. They had to come down in the street. Look at that. Yeah, he said chest-high water was the greatest obstacle to fighting these fires. But they did, and now they're recovering. But the other thing is they're still patrolling, waiting for hot spots. We are told that even though that house is still smoldering, it's not posing a danger to the neighboring structures. And because of these waters, because the conditions were so challenging, the fire chief said really their primary concern was not only putting out the fires themselves, but keeping them from spreading. We've seen what's happened in Breezy Point over in Queens. Well, we're quite breezy over here as well. And the concern was that that fire would spread with all these high winds. They managed to keep that off. A really, really tough job that was successfully executed. That's the latest from here in Lindenhurst for now. Reporting live, I'm James Ford, PIX 11 News.